Hello everyone. Today I'll be taking you on the step on how you can represent your rebar. You're going to represent your rebars on your staircase, especially how you're going to run your bar numbers, your bar mark. You can see how you're going to represent them on the staircase. I can see at this point we just have zero, you just have zero everywhere and on the staircase too. So I'm going to take you on the process on how we're going to mark them, we're going to identify them on the plan, and how we're going to represent them on the staircase. My name is STADAS, and I'm your instructor. You can see now I'm detailing the staircase of similar risers. You can see the numbers of risers I have on this flight is the same as the numbers of risers I have on this flight, which indicates in this height we are having 150 millimeter, risers at 11, 11 risers at 150 millimeter, you can see. So they are both 11 on both direction. You can see. So all I'm going to do is to detail the rebars, how the bar mark is going to be identified on the staircase. A couple of times I see a lot of people call me, they have such challenge. So today, if you're in that category, this is your lucky day. Let's begin. So you can see we identify that this is our start point, and this is the point, the ending point where your rebar is going to, connect with the slab. This is your slab point, and this is where you're going to start. So at your start point, you're going to always start your rebar at, the first risers. Your first riser is starting here, and it's going to connect at this other flight where you have the slab. So let's begin. So we can identify by calling the first one 01. Let's call it 01. Then alongside, let's call this 02. Let's go, in the rising sequence. Now you can see the river starts from this point and down to this point. So all we're going to notice now is we're going to look at the length of our river. Mind you, what we have here is we have similar flight. You can see the flight is 1 meter 100. You can see this is what we have in our dimension, and in both flights we have a total of 200 200 millimeter. So at each flight we have 1100 millimeter and 1100 millimeter at the other flight, and at this our landing we have 1200 millimeter at this our landing. And each of the flights, since we have 11 flights, we have 10 thread. So the 10 thread, each of this thread gives us a 300 millimeter. So each of the thread give us 300 millimeter. So 10 of it will give us 3000. You can see. So we are going to look at, working with this. You can see we are going to run this from this span down to this other span. You can see. So this length is the same thing as this other length. What we do here is I try to, detail the bottom reinforcement with a you know, blue color, and the top reinforcement with my red color. And as much as the span line, you can see the span line spanning from this direction down to this direction. So all goes in red. So when you see the red line here, it indicates the top reinforcement. You can see it will indicate the top reinforcement where you see the red bar. You can see, and this other red bar indicates also the top reinforcement over here. All this top reinforcement, you can see this top reinforcement are this other rear bar. You can see, so they are going to be running in this direction. So you can see they are running in this direction. Meanwhile, this is the red one along this area. So the same thing along the blue area, the blue, we have the bottom for the blue, and we are going to have the the short, color in blue. Can see what we have here. This is the one in blue showing you in that direction. So what we are going to do right here is to start detailing. So we'll call this 1, we'll call this 2. So this bar, the length of this bar is still the same thing as the length of this bar. So what we're going to do is to still call this 2, and the same thing goes here, 2, and this rebar is 2, since they exist between the same span, you know They have the same length and they have the same size. They're all in 12 millimeter rebar. So in this direction, so since we have one, two, we can also call this, we can say, let's call this three. If we call this three, this is sharing the same thing. So on this area, we're also having three because the blue line has the same length since uh, they have the same distance they're covering. So what we'll do here, we'll call this three. So coming down to this spot, since we have this reinforcement running from this area, from this our startup point down to the wall, you know, you have a reinforcement starting from the base, running straight to down to the landing, from the flight down to the landing and into the wall in this direction. Like what we have here is starting from this direction, is running straight down to the wall. You can see, and that is this bar we are referring at. That is this bar we are referring at. This bar, it starts from here and it runs straight down to the wall. The same thing to this other reinforcement. It starts from the landing and is running at the bottom area down to the slab. You can see this is where we're talking about our reinforcement running down to the slab. So this region here, this is where it is on the side elevation where you cut the section. You cut the section of B and the section of A. So at the A, this is the A direction and this is the B. So that's what we're going to do. So in doing this, we have our one, our two for all the top rivers and three for all the bottom runners. And this we'll call this, let's call this the four. We'll call this the four. And similarly, let's call this five at the other end. We'll call this five. And here we'll call this six. Call this six and we'll call this seven. So since they have the same length, let's call this 6 because they have the same length and they are running in the same, proportion, the same length. So we'll call this 6. And here we'll come over here, we'll call this 8. Let's call this 7 rather. 7. And in this top bar, we are going to call this 8. So this will be 8. One of the things you need to understand about rebar when you're talking about your bar numbers, pay attention. When you're talking about your bar numbers, what you need to understand is there are four factors that you consider when you're doing your bar number. Number one factor is the distance. If your rebar have the same distance, the same length, for example, these two, since they cover the same length I have here, if you have a rebar that has the same length, no matter where they are positioned, then they should have the same bar number. Number two, when considering your bar number is if the number if those rebars that have the same length in that direction, if they have the same size, then they will similarly have the same bar number. In that regard, we also look at the shape. If they have the same shape, or you talk about the shape factors, when you're doing your rebar, you're doing your binding schedule, you should understand this. Now, if the rebar have the same shape, then you can feel free to call them the same number. So these three categories we are looking at today, if we have the same length, the same shape, and the same size. So on any of the reinforcement we have here, if they are no matter where they are placed, no matter the position they are placed, if they could have the same shape, the same length, and the same size, then they have the same bar number. Always bear this in mind. This should guide you in any area you're doing your bar. Either you're running your slab, you're running your beam, or any detailing you're running your bar that requires any detailing you're doing that require introducing your bar number. These are the factors you should consider: your size, the size of the bar, the length of the bar, and the shape of the bar. This should be your so. Now, considering that, you can see this, we have this have the same shape, the same length as this, the same size, and the same, you know, length. So that's why we have two over here and also two over here because they have the same length and they cover the same direction at the top region. But you can see here, these have the same shape, the same length with this. But I'm trying to do this. This is another four factors that you need to really consider. Why I'm trying to do this, for the purpose of this video, I need to make this, since this is a bottom reinforcement, I just have to name it different so that we are going to understand this while we label it on the section. regardless, they are supposed to have the same bar number because they have the same length, they have the same shape, and they have the same size. So let's go. So now we've successfully, you know, label all our rebars on the plan. We have bar 1 and 2, we have 3, we have 4, we have 5 on this area, we have 6, appearing numbers of time 2, and we have 2 appearing 4. We have 2 here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we have 6 to be 1 and 2, and 3 appear 2, 1 and 2 for the number we label. And bar 3 is running from this flight, for the beginning of the flight, from the beginning of the flight down to where we have our table, right? To where we have our table. So our landing rather. So at this point, from the beginning of the landing down to where we have our slab, you can see this running. Whereas we have the bar 2 running from here where we have this top bar extending down here. Similarly, you can see what we have here. So where we are having the terminating point is running over here and also running over here. So we're having a split point, separating point. That's why you see that the top bar did not continue along this area, right? So we'll do well by figuring out this. So what you need to do to get the total numbers of this. Today we won't be considering this, but at the end of this video, we might just look into that. So what we're going to do first of all is to label this. So at bar 1, you can see this is our top bar. So what we're going to do, we're going to label here to be what? 1. So this is the 1 because it appears from the base. So at 2, we're going to have the top bar, this one running all these bars, the runners. This is what we call the 2. You can see we're going to label this 2. So you can see at the top bar where we have the 2 running around this area, and we have 2 here, we have 2 over here, we have 2 over here. So we're going to put the 2. You can see what we've successfully done by putting all the 2 at the area, telling us the runners. This is where we are trying to represent. Please, if you're finding this video interesting, do well to subscribe, like, and share so that you will not miss any video like this. So up here we still have 2, you can see, running at the top level. So all the top level, since they have the same direction, they have the same size and the same length, we are going to run them with what? With our bar 2 by what we have on the diagram or the plan. You can see. So let's go back to the bottom. So at the bottom area we have bar what? The bar, we detail it by what? 3. So all the bottom, we're going to detail all these bottom bars along the flight to be 3. So you see, successfully we've labeled all the runners are along the bottom area to be what? Bar 3. You can see even at the top area, the top level, they are all bar 3. This is a 3 and 3. So we're running along that span. So probably what we're going to look at is the one running at the top bar where we have at this area at the landing and at the fly. So is what? Bar 6. So this is what we're referring at. This is the 6 running at the top. Got it here. Top, at the top is bar 6. And this area too, this is 6. Since they are all the same length and they have the same shape in this direction. Sorry, this is going down and this is going up. This is going up and this is going down. So we can simply identify this by calling this another bar, because you can see this one, bar 6, is actually coming down. You can see the shape coming down, while this other one is actually going up, right? So we're going to identify that by uh, another bar mark, another bar mark. So what we're going to do, so we're going to call this 9. So this is 9 and this is 6. 9 flight going up and 6 on the landing. 6 on the landing and 9 up. So the next thing we're going to do is what? Go to bar 5. You can see bar 5 is the one at the top level. So this is bar 5 at the reinforcement. So we have bar 5 at that area, and the lower area will have 4 at this area, and we'll have 5 along this area. So here we have 4 here. You can see at the bottom area we have 4, and at the top area we have 5. Then you can see along this area where we have this area. This is our top and bottom. This is going to run at the bottom level and at the top level. So it's 7. So we're going to detail all of these, and this 7. So you can see we've successfully named it 7. So the 7 is running at the top area and at the bottom region as well. So you can see we have it's at the top and at the bottom, you know, because we cut this section this way and we'll cut the section this way. So if you cut the section this way, you're also seeing it here. And if you cut this section also in this other direction, you're also seeing, that's why you're seeing it duplicating itself, right? Let's not get confused why we're having a 7 here and a 7th over this area. This is because I cut this section in the A direction. So if I cut the section in the A direction, I'm going to start from this level and I'm going to start inclining down to the landing. So this is where I started and I inclined down to this landing. So if I cut in the B direction, I'm going to start from the landing and I'm going to incline down up to the slab, all right? Down up to the slab. So you can see this is the slab area where, you know, you can actually walk, you can land at this part, start this area, you elevate down to the landing and elevate down to the slab, you can see. So that's it. So lastly, what we have here is the bar 8 running, going straight into the slab. So the bar 8 is the top reinforcement. So what we're going to do right here is to identify by clicking this. So go by 8. So you can see the 8 is the top reinforcement inside the slab, going inside the slab, while the 5 is the bottom reinforcement. And so the 5 is the bottom reinforcement and 8 is the top reinforcement, as well as the top reinforcement for the runners remain 0.2 and we have 0.3 for the bottom reinforcement in both flight, right? So please, if you like what you're seeing, don't fail to subscribe, share, and comment on it. I would like to see a better idea on how to do this. If you have a better idea, please comment on it, share, and like. So I also carry on tutorial, mentoring people on how to do a suitable editing and slab editing and any kind of design editing. So I would like you to stay on. So if you still want to use this video, you need a template whereby you can react, you can, to do your own practice at your leisure. It's still open, so I can still, provide this template for you so that you can, you know. So regarding this, for you to label the numbers of reinforcement we have, these are the various bar we have. You can see. So we have up to bar 8, bar 9. So we're going to include the last one. So we have up to bar 9 here. So we're going to edit this to be 9. All right. So start specifying them. So since we want it to be at this, distance at 175 millimeter, that should be our spacing. So what we're going to do is we're going to employ our calculator. So we're going to bring in our calculator. So in our calculator, what we're going to do is we'll have the distance maybe from 1. No, each of this is 300. So we have this. We have each of these to be 300. From here down to this, we have 4 threads. So 4 threads, 300 times this should be the same thing as what we have 1.2. So what we're going to do here is to say 12 divided by 175, like what we have here. We're doing this from here down to this portion, which is 4 rises, 4 thread rather. 4 thread will give us 4 thread at 300 will give us 1 5. So this is how we got about that. If you say 300 multiplied by 4 is going to give us this. So this divided by 1 5, our spacing, what do we have? So equals to is going to give us 6. So plus 1 factor of safety, we're going to have 7. So here, what we'll have here is 7. So that's 7. And in this area, we're having a reinforcement running from this area down to this span, which is the total of days. So we have 1100. So 1100, 11, 11 divided by the same spacing we have here. Same spacing will give us 6 plus 1, we still have 7. So in all this direction where you have from the 6, we are all running the same span along these directions from 4 bar 4 to bar 1 bar 2. So they are all 7 in number. So what we're going to do is to get the 3 direction, the 3 bar 3 running from this direction down to this point, from this point down to this point, which is 3 meter. So we have this to be 7. So we're going to say 3 meter divided by 175, which is our spacing. So we're going to have 17. 17 plus 1, we have 18. So in this direction, we know that this is 7, and our 3 is what we have 18. Right? 3 is what we have 18, and it's 18 since it's running from this flight down to this flight. How many times it appears? It appears twice on both flights. So 4 appears just one. So 4 is what? From the spacing we have, 4 is 7. 5 is the same thing. 5 here is appears just one. So since 5 appears one and is 7, so we'll go to 6. 6 also appear once, and 6 is what? 7. So we'll go by adding 7, and by 7 is what? Appears one, though is top and bottom. So we're going to put here to be top and bottom. To be top and bottom. 7 is top and bottom, while 8 is our top reinforcement. So 8 is our top reinforcement, and 8 appears 7 and is 1 times. So 8 appears just once on our plan, appear just one on our plan, and 9 also appear once on our plan and is also 7, and is the top reinforcement. So 6 is the top reinforcement here, not the bottom reinforcement. 6 is the bottom, sorry, it's the bottom reinforcement. 5, the bottom reinforcement. And 4 is the bottom too. And we're having 3 to be a bottom reinforcement, 2 to be a top reinforcement, right? 2 will be a top reinforcement, and we have 1 to be a top reinforcement since they are on red. Mind you, all the ones in red is a top reinforcement, and the ones in blue, the blue color bars, are the bottom reinforcement, like LL said. So what we're going to do now, we now know this to be a top reinforcement, but there's something you need to understand, that one has to be the top and one has to be the bottom. Now, in the bottom, we have the bottom bottom and the bottom top. So one has to be below, and the other needs to be beneath. So in this regard, we are having this to be our bottom bar running in this direction, and this will be at the bottom runners running at the top. So we specified 4 to be the bottom. That's the BB, the one that's supposed to be laid first before we have this top, right? So, and the 3 will be the one on top of the bar 5, right? Bar 5 and bar 4. So bar 5 is also B on the other direction, right? So 5 is on this direction, while 3 is on this direction, and we have 4 on this direction. right? So 4 is a BB and 5 is in this direction. So what we're going to do right now is to go to um, bar 3. So the bar 3 is what appear twice, and the bar 3 is the bottom top. It's going to be on top of this, like what I earlier said. And going to the top reinforcement is going to be the other way around. So on the top reinforcement, we're going to have this. We're going to have these two to be the top bottom. To have this to be the top bottom. Y1, Y1 will be the top top. 1 is the top top, the one on top. So the one on top here is the top, and why this will be the top bottom, because this is laid before this. All right. So let's not get confused. So that's what we have. So in this regard, we have number 6. Getting number 6 here. So number 6 will also be what? Top top. 6 is the top top, and 9 the same thing. Why 8 will go the same, and 2 will run across 1, 8, 1, 8, 9, and 6. Let's go again. 2 run across 1, 8, 6, and 9. You can see. So in this regard, to send this to the site, it is easy for everyone to know how this is being detailed and how it's going to be followed on the construction site. I hope you find this video helpful. Please, I want you to comment, like, share for more interesting video. Bye. See you on the next one.